Hello Kindred Longevity Lifestyle Designers, this is Govin here with secretsoflongevity.com. There's a question here from a recent video from Joseph Gregory, and they're asking, what are your thoughts on video games? Helpful or harmful? Also, why would group settings reduce cognitive function? So there's multiple questions within this, some pertaining to the video it was on the IQ video recently. Wouldn't working in groups have extremely essential benefits evolutionarily wise? So shouldn't it have the opposite effect? So we'll get to that part after the first one. Video games, really, it's a very broad area of entertainment. There's certainly going to be areas of video games that have been specifically designed to try and boost IQ. You can usually find them. They're very much like playing chess or doing any of these other word puzzle things or Sudoku. They do have an effect on improving certain cognitive functions a little bit. There's nothing that drastic that's been found, but there has been some that have been found to be effective. I actually talked about this in my video in the IQ series on habits, games, and things that boost IQ, and I'm going to stick a link for that below so you can watch that. It's actually fairly early on I talk about that, the video game thing. But I also, in that video, talk about the effects of more general video games. And the ones that seem to be the best, not quite on par as the video games that are developed specifically to improve cognitive function. But by the way, the problem with those for a lot of people is that they're just not that fun. Like, you can get into them a little bit, but they don't have that addictive quality to them that I think draws a lot of people to video games. So there is an area of video games which I'd say is certainly probably a lot more beneficial to cognitive function, while at the same time having a actual quality about them that's fun to play, and that's any kind of real-time strategy game. I don't know too much about the video game industry, but I did used to play something called StarCraft when I was a teenager, and occasionally I've actually looked into the various gaming subcultures and the videos that go online. So I think the other one that might be equivalent, although from what I can tell, it might not be as real-time strategy as StarCraft, the newer one. I played the older one, but League of Legends, I really don't know how that one works or what goes on in that, but I believe there's some real-time strategy involved in that. So those do actually help with certain parts of your brain. Now, whether that offsets the fact that you're sitting playing them, because we know sitting is unhealthy, and the more we're standing and doing things, the better. I mean, you could set up a standing desk and play standing up, but I think at a certain level of play, people need to sit to be as focused as possible. And as long as you have the right ergonomic stuff and you do take breaks and move around, if this is really your thing, playing video games, I'm sure that's totally legitimate. It's not the most optimal thing in my view, but if you gravitate towards the ones that are a little better, that's better. I think the ones that have perhaps the most detrimental effect are the more mindless ones. I don't know which ones those might be. You can look into some of the research yourself. I could maybe say Minecraft, but I think that might have some benefits to creativity when you consider people build things out of it. It's kind of like playing Lego, and I believe kids who play with Lego have been shown to have certain abilities that they're creating in doing that. So yeah, it's really about balancing things in your life. If video games are detracting from other aspects of your life that keep you being healthy and that keep your brain functioning optimally, they can certainly be degenerative to cognitive function. But done in the right way, in the right types, they do have a little bit of a boost. Whether it's specific to IQ, it's debatable, but there are some improvements in some areas that do fall under the IQ category. So in regards to groups, I talked a little bit about that in the video. There's several studies that show that group settings, specifically things like meetings or when it's involved with work, people's IQs drop, at least the IQs they display in the activities and things they're doing. So there's probably several things going on here. One might be just the mob mentality. So perhaps everyone's driving closer to the lowest common denominator. So I don't know if they actually looked as to who the lowest IQ person is in the group and whether people were coming down closer to that level, or maybe they're all dropping down to the level of the IQ of the most dominant person. So there's a lot of factors I think that could play into that they didn't study. But it's something to keep in mind. All the greatest thinkers in history, when you're talking about people that invent things, that come up with concepts, that write, that do art, they're all introverts. I'm not knocking extroverts, but because they have that sociability, they're going to be lacking in the more introspective things that are generally associated with higher IQ. Greater EQ will have other benefits. So what's one person's strength is another person's weakness, but they can have the strengths, and the more introverted people will have weaknesses as well. So certainly cooperation things can help in attaining certain goals. People do different tasks, people have different strengths and weaknesses, but yeah, this is just simply the result of the research. So I don't have anything more to say about it other than that. It could also have to do with the various pressures that exist in a group that are happening on an unconscious level. You know, all the really deep animalistic stuff about who's the alpha or beta person, what's the hierarchy, who's the most attractive as a mate, potentially, who's the most suspicious and perhaps dangerous. There's all these other things going on in a group that could be occupying mental energy or brain energy, even on an unconscious level, that just detracts from when you're on your own, just being able to fully utilize all the mental and cognitive skills that you would normally have. Or it's not even on your own, but rather just not in a group setting of all working together. Because if you're in a classroom, learning from a teacher or doing a test, you probably have just as much access to those abilities than compared to trying to work with other people. So I think that's one or several of those things I mentioned might be the reason behind that. And thank you for asking that. So I appreciate your questions. Ask any questions below, and I'll try to get to them in future videos or answer them myself. And with that, I'll talk to you again soon. Take care and embrace life without limits.